The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They were huge, bigger than any building humans had ever made. Their dark metal surfaces gleamed in the sunlight as they moved slowly over major cities around the world. People stopped what they were doing and looked up in fear and wonder. Captain Jake Morrison was eating breakfast at the Earth Defense Force base when the alarm started ringing. He dropped his coffee cup and ran to the command center. The screens showed hundreds of alien ships surrounding Earth. Some were as big as mountains. Others were smaller but still larger than Earth's biggest warships. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the alien fleet," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. She was the base's expert on alien life, though she had never actually seen any aliens before. Today, her hands shook as she worked at her computer. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. His voice stayed calm, but inside he felt scared. Earth had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they had their answer, and it was not good. The screen filled with the image of a strange creature. It looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect. Its eyes were large and black. When it spoke, its voice was cold and threatening. "People of Earth," the alien said. "I am Admiral Kexter of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have two choices. Surrender now and become our servants, or we will destroy your planet and everyone on it." Jake felt his heart beating fast. He looked around the command center. Everyone was staring at the screen with wide eyes. This was the moment that would decide the future of humanity. "You have 72 hours to give us your answer," Admiral Kexter continued. "We have conquered 847 worlds before yours. All of them chose to surrender. We suggest you do the same." The transmission ended. The command center was silent for a moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Officers were shouting orders and asking questions. The noise was loud and confusing. "Quiet!" Jake yelled. Everyone stopped talking. "Lieutenant Carter, what can you tell us about these aliens?" Amy looked at her computer screen. "Sir, I've been studying their transmission. Their technology is very advanced, but something seems strange about it. Their ships look old, like they were built a long time ago and never changed." Commander Rick Hayes walked into the room. He was Jake's boss and one of Earth's best military leaders. His face was serious but not panicked. "I just spoke with President Lisa Torres," Rick said. "She's calling an emergency meeting of all world leaders. We need to buy time while our scientists figure out what we're dealing with." Jake nodded. "What about our defenses? Can we fight them?" "Dr. Paul Kim is on his way here," Rick replied. "He's been working on some new weapons that might help us. But honestly, Jake, we're facing an empire that has conquered hundreds of worlds. The odds are not good." Meanwhile, in a secret laboratory beneath the mountains of Colorado, Dr. Paul Kim was working frantically. He had been developing new weapons for years, hoping they would never be needed. Now that hope was gone. "Status report," he said to his team of scientists. "The quantum fold cannons are ready," said Dr. Susan Clark. "But we've never tested them against alien technology." "What about the stealth ships?" Paul asked. "The ESS Defiance and 12 other ships are equipped with the new cloaking system," Susan replied. "Admiral Kate Johnson is preparing them for battle." Paul looked at the weapons they had created. They used principles of physics that most humans barely understood. The quantum fold technology could bend space and time, making their weapons appear in unexpected places. The stealth ships could become invisible to most sensors, but would it be enough against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years? Back at the defense base, Jake was studying the alien ships through telescopes. They moved in perfect formation, like they had done this many times before. Their weapons were clearly visible, and they looked powerful enough to destroy entire cities. "Sir," Amy said, walking up to him, "I've been thinking about what the alien admiral said. He mentioned they've conquered 847 worlds. That's a lot, but it also tells us something important. What's that? Jake asked. If they've conquered so many worlds, why do they all surrender without fighting? Maybe these aliens have never faced real resistance before. Maybe they're used to scaring people into giving up. Jake thought about this. Earth was different from many worlds. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They knew how to adapt and survive in difficult situations. Other planets might not have had the same experience. That's a good point, Amy, he said. But we still don't know how powerful their weapons are. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brooks joined their conversation. He was in charge of Earth's ground-based weapons. I've been looking at their ship formations, he said. They're spread out like they expect us to surrender. They're not in a battle formation. This gave Jake an idea. What if we don't surrender, but we also don't attack right away? What if we make them think we're considering their offer while we prepare our defenses? Rick Hayes overheard this conversation. That's risky, Jake. If they realize we're stalling, they might attack immediately. But if we surrender, humanity becomes slaves forever, Jake replied. At least this way we have a chance. As the first day passed, the alien ships continued to circle Earth. They made no move to attack, but their presence was a constant reminder of the threat hanging over humanity. People around the world watched the news, hoping their leaders would find a way to save them. In the underground laboratory, Paul Kim and his team worked without rest. They were preparing weapons that had never been used in battle. They were humanity's best hope, but no one knew if they would work. The clock was ticking. In less than 3 days, humanity would have to give their answer to the Zephyrian Empire. Would they surrender and become slaves, or would they fight against impossible odds? Jake Morrison looked up at the alien ships in the sky. He made a decision. That would change the course of human history forever. Humanity would not go quietly into slavery. They would fight, even if it meant risking everything. The battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin. The 72 hours passed quickly. President Lisa Torres stood before the cameras of the world, knowing that billions of people were watching her. The alien ship still floated in the sky above Earth, waiting for humanity's answer. Admiral Kexther, she said, speaking directly to the alien fleet. We have made our decision. Earth will not surrender. The response came within minutes. The alien admiral's face appeared on screens around the world. His black eyes showed no emotion, but his voice carried anger. You have chosen death, he said. Your world will be destroyed as an example to others who might think of resisting the Empire. The transmission ended and the alien ships began to move. They formed attack formations and prepared their weapons. Energy began to glow from the front of their massive ships. Captain Jake Morrison was already in his fighter ship, waiting in space near Earth's moon. Around him, 50 other human pilots prepared for the fight of their lives. Their ships were much smaller than the alien vessels, but they carried the new quantum-fold weapons that Dr. Paul Kim had created. All pilots, this is Admiral Kate Johnson, came a voice over the radio. She was commanding the battle from the ESS Defiance, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. Remember your training. Hit them fast and hard, then disappear before they can hit back. The aliens attacked first. Beams of red energy shot from their ships toward Earth. But before they could reach the planet, something strange happened. The beams seemed to bend and twist in space, missing their targets completely. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brooks smiled as he watched from his command post on Earth's surface. The quantum cannons were working perfectly. They created fields that bent space around Earth, making the alien weapons miss their targets. Target the lead ship, Sam ordered his gunners. Fire quantum cannon number 1. A blue beam of light shot up from Earth toward the alien fleet. It seemed to disappear and reappear several times as it traveled through space. When it hit the alien ship, the massive vessel's shields flickered and failed. The ship itself began to break apart. Admiral Kexter could not believe what he was seeing. His most powerful dreadnought was being destroyed by creatures, he thought, were primitive. The human weapons were using technology that his scientists did not understand. All ships, focus fire on the planet's surface, he commanded. Destroy their weapon stations. But the human weapons were not where the aliens expected them to be. Dr. Susan Clark had hidden the quantum cannons in mountains and under the ocean. When the aliens tried to target them, they found empty space. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison led his fighter squadron in their first attack. The human ships seemed to appear out of nowhere, striking the alien vessels and then vanishing again. The new stealth technology made them invisible to alien sensors. "This is impossible," said Commander Vexani, one of the alien officers. "How can their primitive ships disappear from our screens?" Jake's fighter appeared directly behind an alien cruiser. He fired his quantum torpedoes at close range. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Before the other aliens could react, Jake's ship vanished again. Major Alex Turner was leading a different kind of mission. While the space battle raged above, he and his team of soldiers were flying toward one of the smaller alien ships. Their goal was to capture it and learn about alien technology. "Remember, we need prisoners," Alex told his team as their shuttle approached the alien vessel. "The scientists want to study these creatures." The human shuttle was too small for the aliens to notice during the battle. It attached itself to the alien ship's hull like a parasite. Alex and his soldiers cut through the metal and entered the ship. Inside, they found aliens who had never experienced real combat before. The creatures were panicking and running in circles. They had weapons, but they did not know how to use them against enemies who fought back. "Surrender and you will not be harmed," Alex announced in the alien language that Amy Carter had taught him. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. In their empire, enemies always surrendered or died. No one had ever offered to spare their lives. Back in space, Admiral Kate Johnson was directing the human fleet with skill that amazed even her own officers. She seemed to know where the alien ships would move before they moved there. Her commands came quickly and clearly. "Blue Squadron, hit their left flank. Red Squadron, protect the orbital stations. Green Squadron, follow me in for a direct attack on their command ship." The aliens had more ships and bigger weapons, but they were not used to fighting enemies who could think and adapt. Every time they changed their tactics, the humans changed theirs too. It was like fighting shadows. Dr. Paul Kim watched the battle from his laboratory. The weapons he had created were working better than he had hoped. The quantum fold technology was confusing the aliens completely. Their sensors could not track human ships or weapons properly. The aliens fight like they're following a book, he told his assistant. They do the same things they've always done. But humans are different. We improvise. Admiral Kexter was becoming desperate. Half of his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The humans were using tactics that made no sense according to everything he knew about warfare. Worse, news of the battle was being broadcast across the galaxy. Other species under Empire rule were watching humans fight back successfully. "Send a message to the Emperor," he told his communications officer. "Request immediate reinforcements. These humans are not what we expected." As the first day of battle ended, the alien fleet was in retreat. They moved away from Earth to regroup and plan their next attack. But the damage was already done. For the first time in thousands of years, the Zephyrian Empire had been defeated in battle. Captain Jake Morrison landed his fighter on the SS Defiance. He was tired but excited. Humanity had won the first round, but he knew the war was just beginning. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked Admiral Johnson. "3 fighters and 1 cruiser," she replied. The aliens lost 37 ships, including 2 of their biggest dreadnoughts. Around the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The empire that had ruled for 3,000 years had been beaten by a species they called primitive. In the empire's slave worlds, people began to whisper about the humans who had fought back and won. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. But their leaders knew this was only the beginning. The empire would return with more ships and better tactics. Humanity had surprised them once, but it would be harder to do it again. Dr. Susan Clark was already working on improvements to their weapons. Major Alex Turner was questioning the alien prisoners they had captured. Amy Carter was studying alien technology to learn their weaknesses. The battle for Earth had been won, but the war for human freedom was just starting. And across the galaxy, other enslaved species were beginning to hope that maybe, just maybe, the mighty empire could be defeated after all. 3 weeks after the first battle, Dr. Ben Foster walked into the prisoner holding area. He was a scientist who studied how different species behaved and thought. The captured aliens sat in clean, comfortable cells, looking confused and scared. "Hello," Ben said to the first alien prisoner. "My name is Ben. I want to ask you some questions." The alien creature looked at him with large, dark eyes. "You did not kill us," it said in broken human language. "Why?" "Because killing prisoners is wrong," Ben replied. "We want to understand you, not hurt you." The alien seemed shocked by this answer. "But we are your enemies. In the Empire, enemies are always killed or enslaved." Ben sat down and opened his notebook. "Tell me about your empire. How long has it existed?" 3,000 years, the alien said proudly. "We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We are the strongest force in the galaxy. How many wars have you fought?" Ben asked. The alien looked confused. "Wars? We do not fight wars. We conquer weak species who cannot fight back. Before you humans, no one has ever resisted us." Ben wrote this down. It was important information. The Empire was strong, but they had no experience with real warfare. They were used to bullying weaker species, not fighting equals. Meanwhile, Colonel Mary Davis was studying the alien technology they had captured. She worked in a secret laboratory with the best human scientists. The alien computers and weapons were spread out on tables around her. "This is fascinating," she told her team. "Their technology is very advanced, but it's also very old. They haven't changed their designs in hundreds of years." Dr. Jim Parker, who was helping her, picked up an alien weapon. "Look at this energy rifle. It's powerful, but it only works in one way. It can't be adjusted for different situations." Mary nodded. "That's the pattern I'm seeing everywhere. Their ships, their weapons, their computers, everything is designed to do one job very well. But humans make tools that can do many different jobs." She walked over to a human rifle that was sitting on another table. "Our weapons have different settings. We can make them more powerful or less powerful. We can change how they work depending on what we're fighting. The aliens can't do that." Captain Lisa Grant was preparing for humanity's first offensive mission. She commanded a new military unit called the Human Expeditionary Force. Their job was to attack alien bases and free other species that the Empire had enslaved. "Our target is the Kepler system," she told her officers. "Intelligence says there are 3 alien species there who are forced to work in the Empire's mines. We're going to liberate them." Lieutenant Mike Johnson raised his hand. "Captain, what if these species don't want to be liberated? What if they're happy under Empire rule?" Lisa smiled. "According to our alien prisoners, no one in the Empire is happy. They're all afraid. The Empire rules through fear, not loyalty." The human fleet left Earth's solar system and traveled toward the Kepler system. It was humanity's first mission beyond their home. The ships used new technology that let them move faster than light, but in a different way than the aliens did. When they arrived at Kepler, they found a heavily defended mining operation. Alien warships patrolled the system, and the planets were covered with factories and slave camps. "All ships, this is Captain Grant," Lisa announced. "Remember, our goal is to free the enslaved species, not to destroy everything. Target the warships first, then the guard stations." The battle began immediately. The alien ships moved to attack the human fleet, but they used the same tactics they had used at Earth. They hadn't learned anything from their defeat. Major Tony Collins led a ground assault on the main prison planet. His soldiers landed in fast shuttles and began attacking the guard posts. The aliens were not prepared for enemies who could think quickly and change their plans. "The prison guards are running away," one of his soldiers reported. "They're not used to fighting people who fight back." Inside the prison camps, 3 different alien species watched in amazement as human soldiers freed them from their cells. They had been slaves for so long that they had forgotten what freedom felt like. "Who are you?" asked one of the prisoners, a creature that looked like a large bird with 4 arms. "We're humans from Earth," Tony replied. "We're here to set you free." "But why?" asked another prisoner. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Tony said. "We believe all species should be free to choose their own path." Back in space, the battle was going well for humanity. The alien warships were retreating, and the mining stations were surrendering. But something unexpected happened. Other alien ships arrived, not Empire ships, but vessels from species that had been enslaved. "This is Captain Zexival of the Altarian Republic," came a message over the radio. "We've been watching your fight against the Empire. We want to help." "Captain." Grant was surprised. "You're welcome to join us, Captain Zexival, but I thought your species was part of the Empire." "We were forced to join," Zexival replied. "But we never stopped hoping for freedom. When we heard about your victory at Earth, we began preparing for rebellion." Soon, ships from a dozen different species joined the human fleet. They had been waiting for someone to show them that the Empire could be defeated. The humans had given them that hope. Dr. Ben Foster continued his interviews with the alien prisoners. He was learning that the Empire was not as strong as it appeared. Most of the species in the Empire were there against their will. They served the Empire because they were afraid, not because they wanted to. "The Zephyrians are the rulers," one prisoner explained, "but they are few in number. Most of their ships are crewed by slaves from other worlds. If those slaves stopped working, the Empire would collapse." This gave Ben an idea. What if humanity could convince the enslaved species to revolt? What if they could turn the Empire's own people against their rulers? Meanwhile, Colonel Mary Davis made another important discovery. The alien technology was advanced, but it was also predictable. The Empire's scientists had stopped trying to improve their design centuries ago. They thought they were already perfect. "Human technology keeps getting better because we keep experimenting," she told her team. But the aliens stopped experimenting long ago. They're using the same weapons and ships their ancestors used 1,000 years ago. This meant that humans, who were always creating new technology, would soon be more advanced than the Empire. The aliens had better technology now, but humans were improving faster. Captain Grant's mission to Kepler was a complete success. 3 enslaved species were freed, and dozens of alien ships joined the human cause. But more importantly, news of the victory spread across the galaxy. On hundreds of worlds, enslaved species began to whisper about the humans who fought for freedom. Some began to plan their own rebellions. Others sent secret messages to Earth, asking for help. The Empire's leaders were becoming worried. Emperor Zixmal called an emergency meeting of his top commanders. "These humans are dangerous," he told them. "They're not just defeating our ships. They're giving other species ideas about freedom. If we don't stop them soon, our entire empire could fall apart." But the humans were already ahead of them. Dr. Jim Parker had figured out how to jam the Empire's communications. Admiral Kate Johnson was preparing a fleet to attack the Empire's main military base. And Dr. Paul Kim was developing weapons that would make the Empire's defenses useless. Humanity had learned something important about their enemy. The Empire was powerful, but it was also weak. It ruled through fear and had no experience with real warfare. Most importantly, it depended on enslaved species who would rather be free. The war was far from over, but humanity now knew they could win. And across the galaxy, millions of enslaved beings were beginning to believe that freedom was possible. Emperor Zixmal stood in his great palace on the capital world of Zephyr Prime. Through the tall windows, he could see his massive fleet preparing for battle. 1,000 warships, the largest force the Empire had ever assembled, were getting ready to crush the human rebellion once and for all. This will end the human problem forever, he told his generals. No species has ever survived an attack by our grand fleet. But the Emperor did not know that his communications were being watched. Dr. Jim Parker and his team on Earth were listening to every message the Empire sent. They knew about the massive fleet heading their way. "We have 2 weeks before they arrive," Captain Jake Morrison told the emergency meeting of human leaders. "That's not much time to prepare." Admiral Kate Johnson spread a map of the galaxy on the table. "We can't fight 1,000 ships with what we have. But we don't have to fight them all at once." She pointed to different star systems on the map. "The Empire's fleet will have to travel through several systems to reach Earth. We can attack them along the way, taking out a few ships at a time." Admiral Rachel Stone, who had become famous for her victory at Kepler, nodded in agreement. "Hit and run tactics. Make them chase us through space while we pick off their ships one by one." Meanwhile, Ambassador Helen Brooks was working on a different kind of battle. She was meeting secretly with representatives from dozens of alien species who wanted to escape Empire rule. The meeting was taking place on a hidden space station between the stars. "The humans offer us something the Empire never has," she told the gathered aliens. "True partnership. We will share our technology and knowledge freely." A tall, blue-skinned alien named Kextil spoke up. "The Empire promises protection, but gives us only slavery. How do we know humans are different?" Helen smiled, "Because we've already proven it. Look at the species we've liberated. Are they our slaves? No, they are our allies and friends." Captain Tony Miller, who was leading the human diplomatic mission, showed the aliens a document. "This is our proposed alliance charter. Every species gets an equal voice. No one rules over anyone else." The aliens read the document with amazement. Nothing like this had ever existed in the galaxy. The Empire was built on the idea that strong species should rule over weak ones. The humans were suggesting something completely different. Back on Earth, Dr. Karen Adams was studying reports from across the galaxy. She was an expert on politics and government, and she could see that the Empire was starting to fall apart. "Look at these rebellion reports," she told President Lisa Torres. 57 different worlds have declared independence from the Empire in the past month. They're inspired by our example." The president looked at the reports. "Can we help them?" "General Mike Collins is already organizing supply missions," Karen replied. "We're sending weapons and advisors to the rebel worlds. But the most important thing we're giving them is hope." Meanwhile, the Empire's Grand Fleet was making its way toward Earth. Admiral Kexter, who had been promoted after surviving the first battle with humans, was commanding the massive force. "This time we will not underestimate them," he told his officers. "We will destroy every human ship and then burn their planet to ash." But the humans were not waiting passively for the attack. Admiral Rachel Stone was leading a strike force to hit the Empire fleet while it was still far from Earth. Her ships were hidden in an asteroid field, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. "Remember," she told her captains, "we're not trying to win a big battle. We just want to damage as many of their ships as possible and then escape." When the Empire fleet passed through the asteroid field, Rachel's ships attacked without warning. Human fighters appeared from behind asteroids and launched their quantum torpedoes. Several Empire ships exploded before the aliens even knew they were under attack. "Pursue them," Admiral Kexter ordered. But the human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, using their stealth technology to become invisible. The attack had destroyed 20 Empire ships and damaged many more. But more importantly, it showed the Empire's enslaved crews that the humans were still fighting. Some of the alien crew members began to think about changing sides. Captain Lisa Grant was leading another mission on the other side of the galaxy. Her expeditionary force was attacking the Empire's main supply base on Centauri Prime. If they could capture it, the Empire would have trouble feeding and supplying its armies. "The base is defended by automated systems," she told her officers. "The Empire doesn't trust alien species to guard their most important facilities." The battle for Centauri Prime was fierce but short. The human ships used their advanced weapons to destroy the automated defenses. Then human soldiers landed and took control of the supply warehouses. Inside the warehouses, they found something surprising. The Empire was running low on resources. The constant rebellions across the galaxy were making it hard for them to collect taxes and tribute from their subject worlds. "They're weaker than they want us to believe," Captain Grant reported to Earth. "The Empire is starting to collapse from the inside." Dr. Nancy Brown, who had become Earth's chief ambassador to the galaxy, was working to make that collapse happen faster. She was broadcasting messages to every world in the Empire, explaining human ideas about freedom and democracy. "You don't have to live in fear," her messages said. "Every species has the right to choose its own government and way of life." These messages were having a powerful effect. On world after world, people were beginning to question why they should serve an empire that gave them nothing in return. Captain Chris Morgan was leading a daring mission to rescue prisoners from the Empire's most secure prison planet. The planet held thousands of political prisoners from dozens of different species. "The Empire uses this prison to scare people," he told his team. "If we can free these prisoners, it will show everyone that the Empire can't protect its most important facilities." The rescue mission was a complete success. Not only did they free the prisoners, but many of the prison guards joined the rebellion. They were tired of serving an empire that treated them badly. As news of all these victories spread, Emperor Zixmal realized that his empire was falling apart. The Grand Fleet was still heading toward Earth, but half of his territory was already in rebellion. "Perhaps we should try to negotiate with the humans," suggested one of his advisors. "Never," the Emperor shouted. "The Empire does not negotiate with rebels. We will destroy Earth and then reconquer our lost worlds." But his generals were not so sure. Many of them were beginning to think that the Emperor's stubbornness would destroy them all. Meanwhile, Commander Julie Parker was preparing for the final battle. She was commanding a mixed fleet of human ships and vessels from allied species. For the first time in galactic history, dozens of different species were working together as equals. "Tomorrow the Empire's Grand Fleet will arrive," she told her captains. "But we're not the same humans who fought alone at Earth 6 months ago. Now we have friends and allies across the galaxy." As the Empire's massive fleet approached Earth's solar system, they found something they had not expected. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species were waiting for them. The humans had not just survived the Empire's attacks, they had built the largest alliance in galactic history. The final battle was about to begin. But the Empire was no longer fighting just humans. They were fighting the United Forces of Freedom itself. Emperor Zixmal watched from his flagship as the two fleets prepared for battle. For the first time in his long life, he began to doubt that the Empire would win. The humans had done something that no species had ever done before. They had given the galaxy hope for a better future. The stage was set for the battle that would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. The final battle began at dawn on Earth. The Empire's grand fleet of 1,000 ships faced the allied forces of freedom, humans, and 37 other species fighting together. Commander Julie Parker stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the two massive fleets prepared to clash. "All ships, this is Commander Parker," she announced. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of every species in the galaxy." Emperor Zixmal commanded the Empire fleet from his enormous battleship. It was the size of the small moon and carried enough weapons to destroy entire planets. He was confident that his superior numbers would win the day. "Attack!" he ordered. "Destroy them all!" The Empire ships moved forward in perfect formation, just as they had done for thousands of years. But the Allied fleet did something unexpected. Instead of meeting them head-on, the smaller ships scattered in all directions while the larger vessels stayed back. Admiral Lovra Williams, commanding the human battle group, smiled as she watched the Empire ships spread out to chase her fighters. "Now they're exactly where we want them," she said. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Allied ships used tactics that the Empire had never encountered. They worked together like parts of a single organism, supporting each other and covering each other's weaknesses. Captain Jake Morrison led a squadron of fighters that seemed to appear and disappear at will. His pilots struck at Empire ships and vanished before the aliens could respond. Meanwhile, ships from the bird-like Altarian species used their superior speed to confuse the enemy formations. "Their tactics make no sense," complained Admiral Kexter to the Emperor. "They're not following any of the standard rules of space warfare. Then make new rules." Emperor Zixmal shouted back, "We have more ships than they do. We should be winning." But numbers were not everything. The Empire ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight enemies who would stand still and exchange fire. The Allied fleet never stayed in one place long enough for the Empire weapons to target them effectively. Dr. Nancy Brown was watching the battle from Earth's command center. As the galaxy's new ambassador for freedom, she was already preparing for what would come after the fighting ended. "The battle is just the beginning," she told President Lisa Torres. "If we win today, we'll need to help build a new kind of galaxy, one based on cooperation instead of conquest." Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening aboard the Empire ships. Many of the crew members were enslaved aliens from conquered worlds. As they watched their ships being defeated by the Alliance, some began to wonder why they were fighting for their oppressors. On the Empire cruiser Dark Thunder, a group of enslaved Krillian warriors made a decision that would change everything. They turned against their Zephyrian officers and took control of their ship. "This is the Dark Thunder," their leader announced over the radio. "We are joining the Alliance. Freedom is better than slavery." Within an hour, 50 Empire ships had been taken over by their own crews. The enslaved species were finally fighting for their own freedom instead of for their masters. Emperor Zixmal watched in horror as his own fleet turned against him. "This is impossible," he screamed. "They are supposed to obey us." "Maybe they're tired of being slaves," suggested one of his remaining loyal officers. Captain Chris Morgan was leading a special mission during the battle. His job was to capture the Emperor's flagship and end the war quickly. His ships used the chaos of the battle to get close to the massive vessel. "Remember," he told his boarding team, "we want to capture the Emperor alive. A trial will be better than an execution for showing the galaxy that the old ways are finished." The boarding of the Emperor's ship was fierce but brief. The Zephyrian guards were skilled fighters, but they had never faced enemies who fought with such determination. Chris and his team fought their way through the ship's corridors toward the bridge. When they reached the Emperor's command center, they found Zixmal standing alone. His officers had already surrendered or fled. The mighty ruler of the galaxy looked small and frightened. "You cannot do this to me," the Emperor said. "I am the rightful ruler of the galaxy." I have ruled for 3,000 years. Your rule is over, Chris replied calmly. The galaxy has chosen freedom. With the Emperor captured and most of his fleet either destroyed or turned against him, the battle was over. The Alliance had won a complete victory. But the real work was just beginning. In the weeks that followed, representatives from hundreds of species gathered on Earth to create a new government for the galaxy. It was called the Galactic Democratic Union, and every species had an equal voice in its decisions. Dr. Ben Foster helped write the new constitution. Every species has the right to govern itself, the document said. No one has the right to conquer or enslave others. The trial of Emperor Zixmel became the most watched event in galactic history. Species from across the galaxy sent representatives to see justice done. The Emperor was found guilty of countless crimes, but was sentenced to life in prison instead of death. We are not like the Empire, explained the chief judge. We believe in justice, not revenge. As the new government took shape, something remarkable happened. The Emperor made one final desperate attempt to maintain control. He issued a decree declaring Earth and all human colonies off limits to any citizen of the former empire. Let no one go to the human worlds, he announced from his prison cell. They are dangerous and will corrupt our pure galactic order. But this declaration had the opposite effect from what the Emperor intended. Species across the galaxy became curious about the humans who had brought down the mighty empire. The off-limits order made Earth the most famous and desired destination in the galaxy. Captain Tony Miller, now serving as Earth's Minister of Galactic Relations, found himself overwhelmed with requests from alien species who wanted to visit Earth and learn about human culture. The Emperor's declaration is the best advertisement we could have asked for, he told his staff. Everyone wants to see the world that taught the galaxy about freedom. Within a year, Earth had become the unofficial capital of the new democratic galaxy. The planet that had once been threatened with destruction was now the symbol of hope for billions of beings across the stars. Commander Julie Parker stood in the same place where Emperor Zixmel had once commanded his vast empire. But instead of ruling through fear, she was helping coordinate the peaceful cooperation of hundreds of different species. Look what we've accomplished, she said to Captain Jake Morrison, who had become her deputy. A year ago, we were fighting for our lives. Now we're helping to build the most peaceful and prosperous galaxy in history. Jake smiled as he watched ships from dozens of species coming and going from Earth's orbital stations. The Emperor thought he was punishing us by declaring Earth off limits. Instead, he made us the most important world in the galaxy. The declaration that was meant to contain humanity's influence had become their greatest triumph. The galaxy had learned that freedom, cooperation, and hope were more powerful than any weapon or fleet. And in his prison cell, former Emperor Zixmel finally understood the truth. The humans had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had won it through the simple idea that every being deserved to be free. It was a lesson that would echo through the stars for generations to come.